Hello, welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, and we are recording here in Ithaca, New York on June 17th, 2015 at Pegasus Studios, Public Access Television, Time Warner Cable, episode 107. You can see all of my shows at my video blog, walkinpark.com, and we're going to have fun today. We're going to go out and get our feet wet, so to speak, because it's been raining. If you've been around here at all, you know it's been raining. In fact, we've had some flash floods. And that's going to be the main topic of the show today, is flash floods in the area. We're going to particularly focus on our state parks, particularly Robert H. Treman State Park. So, well, anyway, I was out walking on Sunday afternoon. Sunday, that would be the 14th, in 6 Mile Creek area, in this beautiful nature preserve in the city of Ithaca. And I took some pictures and so forth and hung out. And then I saw there was a storm coming in, so I got up and left. And just as I was leaving, it began to rain. And let's just see what the rain might have been like. We're going to go to a little thunderstorm here. Check that out. A little thunderstorm. That's my little glimpse of nature series I do up online, and I put them on the show here sometimes. Well, it really did rain, and I heard the creeks rise around me. I live near Buttermilk Falls State Park. I could hear the creeks really high, and I was very worried about Robert H. Treman State Park because they had so much damage a couple of years ago. On August 9th, I think it was, 2013, they had a horrendous flash flood over there. About twice as much rain fell there as elsewhere around the area, and storms like we've been having lately. And they just finished rebuilding one of the bridges up there, and they've done a lot of work in the gorge, and it was amazing. I said, oh no, it's been ripped out again. So let's go over to Robert H. Treman State Park and see what happened with the flash flooding. First, we'll take a perspective up in the air here. This is obviously aerial photograph by my friend Bill Hecht, who does lots of this kind of photography in the area, looking at Robert Treman State Park, running from the lower right to the upper left. That is Enfield Glen, which is the main attraction of the park, the focus of the park. A beautiful gorge, wooded gorge. It goes down the side of the west side of the Cayuga Inlet Valley, south of Cayuga Lake, a couple of miles south of Ithaca. So let's zoom in on getting a little closer, and right in the center you can see the area of the upper park where you drive in from the right, and there's a parking lot, and there is a building there, a couple of buildings actually. On just right of center is a little blue building, and that's a mill. That's the old mill, they call it. It dates from 1839 or so, and in fact there it is right there. It's the old mill, and behind it there is a creek. Let's look up now, looking straight down. This is not one of his pictures. I took this off the internet. But if you look straight down on that parking lot, you can see the mill on the upper, just upper right of center. You see it says Park Road, and you go left from there, and you can see the top of the mill and the parking lot. And then just to the left of the mill, that dark area that curves around the bottom of the hill, there is a creek in there called Fishkill Creek, which used to power the mill. And then on the other side of the parking lot, you can see a bridge on the right of center. That goes over Enfield Creek, and that is the main stream that goes down through the gorge. So Fishkill Creek joins Enfield Creek, and you might be able to imagine where they are now. You can see at the base of the wooded hill in the center to the left of the mill, that's Fishkill Creek, and then on the lower side of the parking lot is Enfield Creek, and they join just downstream from the mill and so forth. In fact, here is a picture on Monday. Yeah, this was this Monday where they join. There's a picnic area to the right on that point of land where there's a picnic shelter. And let's see if we can pick out that shelter in this upper picture here. Yeah, if you look to the left end, just right in the center of the picture, the left end of the parking lot, you might be able to make out a little building. There's a shelter there, and the other side of the shelter, would be to the downstream side of the shelter, where Fishkill Creek on the top comes in and joins Enfield Creek. So Enfield Creek is the main stream. Here's looking from a footbridge just downstream from there. Enfield Creek is the main creek there, and coming in on the upper left is Fishkill Creek comes from behind the mill. So these pictures I've taken here, particularly this one, was on Monday, and the creek was very high, but not as high as it had been on Sunday night when they had the flash flood. But all the pictures I took there were on Monday, about midday, about noon. So this is looking upstream from the from the picnic shelter towards the mill, and you can see Fishkill Creek there. And Fishkill Creek ripped out trees and so forth during the flood the night before when the stream was much higher, came out on the grass. It covered much of the grass and so forth. And this is heading downstream. And then right back up against the mill, there is this retention wall here protecting the mill from Fishkill Creek. And to the left, there's a small waterfall. Maybe you can see it better here in this picture, a small waterfall. And above that, there used to be a dam that dammed up a mill pond 100 years ago that powered the mill. Well, you can see there's some fencing, temporary fencing put up, and just to the left of that fencing, but to the right of the wall, on the right-hand side of the picture, there's a hole in the ground. Here's that hole looking over the fence. This is a little sinkhole, sort of, and the water actually splashed over this wall the night before and eroded out underneath the wall. You can't even see it. It's underwater somewhere. That's what the engineers determined or thought was the case, and it started to erode out towards the mill. So the park manager, Jim Dunn, told me that he was hoping the creek wouldn't come up any higher than it actually did because it might threaten the mill. So it was a little nervous. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos that other people have taken that happened to be there on Sunday night just before the park was closed because of the weather. And let's see, let's look at this picture here. The next one I'm going to come up here. This is this next video is by a young woman named Mackenzie Mansfield, and let's bring up her little show here. Just a sec. It'll take a sec to bring it up. Okay, yeah, this is the one coming right up.
Treman State New York.
All right, so I'll give you a little idea of the power of the flood. Now we're going to look at another video that someone else did. This one I took off the internet. I think her name is Jenny Di Stefano, or De Stefano. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But in any case, let's look at hers. Well, That was pretty powerful. And I want to just go back and take a look at one of the last frames in that video. It's pretty fuzzy when you just do a frame grab, but look at all that debris right there. That is trees that have been washed downstream, and when the floodwaters went down, here's what they ended up looking like. Oh my. Huge mass of trees that were jammed up against a little footbridge at the that goes between the trailheads, the Gorge Trail and the Rim Trail, and the picnic shelter on the left there. So that's the picnic shelter I was pointing out in those aerial shots before. So let's take another view from the end of the picnic shelter end of the bridge. There's a couple of people on the other side. Look at that stuff. That crunched a wall over, the upstream parapet wall on the bridge, and pretty rough. So actually, let's take a look at another. Well, we'll look at a couple of more pictures like this. This is looking from the other side. You can see the left-hand side of the bridge. That would be the other side from the picnic shelter is all eroded out from the stream jumped its banks. This is looking over the bridge again. There's a big gaping hole on the other side, and here is the other side of the bridge. It's been totally washed out. And what's clearly happened here is that the stream jammed up all the debris, all the trees and so forth, up on the bridge, which created a dam and forced the stream over the banks, and then the powerful water ripped out the banks. So I'm going to, let's see if I can show you another, well, let's see, just go over and look at, yeah, here's the beginning of the trail. There's a trail sign that survived. So on the left behind the trail sign is the Rim Trail, and on the right is, well, in front of you actually, is the beginning of the Gorge Trail. We'll look at some other pictures of that in a couple of minutes, but I want to, here's again the trail head side of the bridge ripped out. That's where the water came back into the stream, having bypassed the bridge, jumped over around it. And I'm going to show you another little video that I made. This is one of my Park Minute series, and we'll bring that one up. I believe that's the next one coming up here. Yes. And that will kind of summarize much of what we're seeing right now. So let's look at that one coming right up here. See it in a sec. On the evening of June 14th, 2015, several inches of rain produced a flash flood in Fishkill Creek that flows by the old mill in the upper section of Robert H. Treman State Park near Ithaca, New York. The next morning, park crews began working hard to repair the damage to park structures and the stream bank. Next to the picnic pavilion, the stone footbridge to the Gorge Trail and Rim Trail became jammed with uprooted trees carried downstream by the torrent, collapsing one stone parapet wall and severely eroding the bank. Heavy machinery was used to fill in a huge gap in the stream bank that threatened the corner of the picnic shelter. Park crews will continue to work hard to clean up debris and repair damage. The Gorge Trail is closed for the time being. Okay, so that summarizes what happened, give you some of the powerful images. Put that up on the Friends of Robert H. Treman State Park webpage, put that up in some of these images, and it quadrupled the number of fans of the webpage, so it's been passed around quite a lot. So let's take a look at some of the other details of what happened there. This is now looking from the beginning of the Gorge Trail. Hasn't gotten to the gorge yet, but this is looking back at that footbridge. And then you can see in the upper right, you may be able to make out just the corner of the picnic shelter in the other side of Fishkill Creek. But the stream then went downstream towards the gorge, ripping out the trail itself, the surface of the trail. This is, you may remember the, on the right of center there, you may remember the water fountain right there. Well, this is what the area looks like now. And so this channel is just ripped out the trail. Not terrible, but it's bad. It's going to be a lot of fixing to do there. And it looks like this is the place on the right where it re-entered Fishkill Creek finally. and or maybe not. Maybe it continued on some as well. But now let's turn and look downstream on that same trail on the east side, or whatever it is, I guess the south side of the stream, looking down towards another bridge. Now, one of the things I was worried about was this next bridge, which was severely damaged in the flood of August 2013. This is what it looked like after that flood, and those stones on the left were not put there by people. The stream pushed them over there. Those were the walls on the bridge, and it was repaired. And all this work was just completed recently, and I was worried that the flood would have taken it out. Well, it turns out that that is the picture I took on Monday, and the bridge is okay. So, which is a very good sign, obviously, for that bridge, but also for things downstream, because where the streams join, again, looking up from that very bridge, Fishkill Creek coming in on the left and Enfield Creek. Well, the flood in August 2013 ripped out countless trees that jammed up on bridges way upstream and all down through the park, and tore out a great deal of the, a lot of walls and steps in the upper gorge, and it did do that damage to that bridge. Well, those trees are gone. They were washed out by that flood. So when this water came roaring down Enfield Creek, it didn't pick up a lot of trees. But I guess there was more water this time coming down, according to the park manager anyway, more water coming down the watershed of the tributary Fishkill Creek, which hadn't been flooded as badly before. That picked up all its trees, and those are the ones that did the damage in the upper park for the most part. So we're hopeful that the Gorge Trail, which is closed right now, will not have sustained the kind of damage it did a couple of years ago, and hopefully it will be able to be opened soon, and that we won't have too much stuff like this down in the Gorge Trail. So so let's take a look at around the picnic shelter a little bit. This is the stream side end of the picnic shelter, and there's a deep, as I mentioned in the video, there's a on that side of the stream, the water had also eroded the bank pretty close to the picnic shelter, and so the park was already putting fill in there to protect the bank and the picnic shelter, looking down from the corner of the building to the water in the creek. And then looking around the picnic shelter, there's a lot of cleanup to do, and there's some erosion. This is on the Enfield Creek side, the other side of the building. There's a lot of erosion around the picnic shelter. And the picnic area itself got scoured, so that's not looking too good. A lot of mud on around the picnic shelter. Also, water got in the picnic shelter. There was quite a bit of water in there, so there's a lot of mud in there. So the big cleanup in there, and there's mud all over the place. So and the picnic, and yeah, this is looking back towards the picnic shelter, towards the creek in the center, and this is debris in the picnic area. So so some damage and quite a lot of cleanup in the upper park, and we don't know what, at least I don't know what's going on in the gorge right now, but it's not open yet. Buttermilk Glen is also closed, I understand. None of this is anywhere near as bad as what happened in July 1935, July 7th, with huge flood that ripped out many of our gorges around here. Teganic, Buttermilk Falls, Watkins Glen. It did tremendous damage in Binghamton, a lot of loss of life. But this is the bridge in the upper park just before the mill, or just across from the mill, that goes over to the picnic area on the north side of Enfield Creek. And look at the damage it sustained. Probably the same sort of thing, trees jammed up against it. This is the parking lot. In the center there in the back is that picnic shelter, and the parking lot was ripped out. And then going back there and looking back towards the mill, look what was done to the parking lot. And we're very lucky we didn't lose the mill then either, so that was kind of a miracle. Here's damage right around the picnic shelter and debris, what have you. So that was the big one that everybody talks about, everybody remembers, the flood of 1935. If you want to find out more about Robert H. Treman State Park and maybe get involved and help the park out in some ways, volunteer, join the Friends of Treman Park, Friends of Robert H. Treman State Park, you can go to, actually I'm on the board, go to our website, tremanparkfriends.org, and A lot of interesting stuff there. Let's pop over to Buttermilk Falls. This is what it looked like a couple of weeks ago before we had any rain to speak of, or the rain had let up. We haven't had this kind of torrents. And there's another video that someone took. I think it was that Jenny DiStefano. Again, took this one, just a short clip of Buttermilk Falls. Let's go to that. So that gorge is closed right now too, the Gorge Trail, and I asked the park manager Jim Dunn at Treman, who also manages Buttermilk Falls, how's Buttermilk, and of course he wasn't focusing on that right then, but he said I think he thought it was pretty bad, but I hope it's not too bad. I hope they can open it up again soon. So let's go over to Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen was very alarming. They had a state of emergency over there. There was water in downtown Watkins Glen. People were driving through it. So here's a picture that someone took. It was they put on Twitter, I guess, showing a picture of the beginning of the gorge at Watkins Glen. With in the lower left there is just the end of what's called Entrance Cascade, and there's the footbridge that comes out of the tunnel and enters the gorge. And on the right, this is what it looked like Sunday evening. So we're going to take a look at a short video that someone took. Let's see, this is going to be Eva Smith took this video. Let's see, yeah, so we'll bring this one up. So that's the main entrance of Watkins Glen State Park on Sunday evening, June 14th, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. And boy, when I saw that, I said, oh no, that gorge is going to be ripped out. Well, I found out they've reopened the gorge. And there's still a lot of cleanup in there, I'm sure, a lot of debris to remove. But today they did reopen the gorge. And so I was told by two park staff, and I talked to one, and he said, you know, we had a 1-2 punch, because on, I guess it was Friday night when we had some rain, over there they had a tornado. So the tornado, they said, touched down in the park and did a lot of damage in 2 of the campgrounds, the entrance to 2 of the campground loops, and they had to spend basically all day Saturday cutting trees to get it out of there. Fortunately, no one was in those loops, and no one was hurt, but then they turned around on Sunday night and they've got this flood to deal with. So they have really been dealing with it. So let's take a little picture. Someone took a video of, actually it'll be credited on this video here, that they posted. It was posted on a news station, and this is a video in Redding and Rock Stream area north of Watkins Glen. I think this is probably the same tornado. So I have running it in sort of regular real-time like pace, and at the end of the video I speed it up so you can see the rotation. So it's just going to be a very short video, and we'll bring that right up. Get up the next video. So did you see that rotation at the end there where I speeded it all up? That was the same clip, just speeded up. Mary Cornish was the taker of that original video. I added the music. She didn't do that. Okay, and then nearby was Hector Falls. Someone took this and posted it on the internet. Hector Falls from Route 414, the upper portion. That's what it looked like Sunday night. So lots of roaring water in our midst. But, well, we're just down to the last couple of minutes here, but I'm going to change the subject just a little bit and go take a look at, let's go back to 6 Mile Creek where I was. And that was that nice stream. This was on Sunday. I was wandering along. I took a couple of pictures, and I saw these boulders. These are what are called glacial erratics. These are not the shale and sandstone that we know around here, but rather pieces of granite or similar, perhaps metamorphic or igneous rocks that were brought here by the glaciers and polished off, rolling under glacial streams and what have you. Here's one somewhere around here, maybe 6 Mile Creek too. And you find these, and that's where they were. These were actually boulders like this were one of the key pieces of evidence in the 19th century that led people to start thinking that there was a huge ice age that moved things around and dug things out. This is Acadia National Park, probably Cadillac Mountain in Maine, on the coast of Maine, looking back to Frenchman's Bay and the Porcupine Islands. And here's a big boulder on top of that mountain there, undoubtedly left there by the glaciers. In Glacier National Park, Yosemite National Park, the valley was dug out by the glaciers, and here's a boulder left after the ice melted away, propped up on a big granite boulder, propped up on the side of the valley. In the Catskill Mountains, there's a big piece of sandstone or conglomerate or something like that, probably sandstone, propped up on the very edge of the Catskill Mountains overlooking the Hudson Valley. And then finally, we're going to get back here to Ithaca. On the Cornell campus, this is the Art Squad. I think it's next to McGraw Hall. It's a glacial erratic, a glacial boulder with a tribute to one of the early Cornell geologists, Ralph Tarr, who participated a lot in the mapping of the glacial features of the area. And then in front of the Alternatives Federal Credit Union is a big glacial boulder brought from around Watertown, New York. Well, that's all we have time for, so thanks for joining me, and we'll see you soon.